German Chancellor Angela Merkel has warned her fellow Europeans that they can no longer rely on their oldest and closest allies, the United States and the United Kingdom. She made the statement at the conclusion of US President Donald Trump's visit to Brussels and his refusal to recommit to NATO's joint defence principle or to the Paris Agreement on climate change. Chancellor Merkel's comments summed up the frustration among European leaders at the G7 summit, as Anne Barker reports.
This was Donald Trump's first presidential visit to Europe at a time when America's closest allies might expect transatlantic ties to strengthen and tensions ease over trade issues, security and climate change. Instead, the divisions have only deepened since the US president castigated European leaders for not doing their share to support NATO and then refused to commit the US to the 2015 Paris Climate Accord. Not that Donald Trump was painting his trip as anything but a huge success.
We made extraordinary gains on this historic trip to advance the security and prosperity of the United States, our friends, and our allies.
In reality, 6 of those allies at the G7 summit sided against Donald Trump on climate change in a meeting the German Chancellor Angela Merkel described as very unsatisfying.
Und die Zeiten, in denen wir uns auf andere
The times in which we can fully count on others are somewhat over, as I've experienced in the past few days, she said. And that's why I can only say we Europeans must really take our destiny into our own hands, of course in friendship with the United States, in friendship with Great Britain, with good neighbourly relations wherever possible, also with Russia and other countries. But we must know that we have to fight for our future and our fate ourselves as Europeans.
Und das will ich gerne mit Ihnen gemeinsam tun.
France's new president Emmanuel Macron urged Donald Trump to make the right decision on climate change, and Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said while he and Donald Trump see eye to eye on the subject of trade, economic growth must go hand in hand with environmental protection.
I'm not going to lecture another country on what they should do, but what I made very, very clear is you cannot build a strong economic future unless you are at the same time protecting and mindful of the environment.
Donald Trump hasn't ruled out US support for the climate accord, but says he wants more time to decide whether he'll back the agreement, which would reduce carbon emissions. This is the man who's previously declared global warming as a Chinese hoax and during his election campaign threatened to pull out of the treaty altogether. The head of Greenpeace in Germany, Tobias Munchmeyer, says Donald Trump is isolated in his thinking.
Donald Trump is out of step with the whole world. So on climate, he was not agreeing with the other countries. The other countries, they have understood that climate protection is creating a lot of jobs, because in the sphere of renewable energies and energy efficiency, you can make a lot of business and you can build up a lot of companies, create jobs. It's profitable, while Donald Trump still didn't get it.
Green groups and other NGOs, as well as European leaders, are now hoping for a stronger commitment from the US at the G20 summit in Hamburg in July. Donald Trump's Defence Secretary James Mattis says the president is, quote, wide open on the issue of climate change as he weighs the pros and cons of pulling out of the Paris Accord.
Anne Barker reporting.